Up for sale or bid is a RCBS green machine in a caliber of 45 APC. Now, first of all, let me state that the Dillon case feeder does not come with it. Now, it will come with a case feeder, but not a $175 Dillon. So it's hard to see for me to get a picture of this whole thing with my camera, so I'm way back now. And but nevertheless, this will give you an idea. This is the cartridge, the case drop tube, and no matter if you're using the Dillon or my conversion or the original cassette that came on it, which I will include one with it, the original. It's 5 or 6 vertical tubes that you turn around index. Okay, the primer feeder has been converted to a Dillon, and it's fail-proof. It just works every time. Also coming with it will be a powder alarm. So when the powder gets down a certain amount, this tube, this follower rod with the red knob up here, which that red knob is adjustable, comes down and it lets you know you're getting a little low on powder, so you don't go ahead and load up a bunch of empty cases. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move in a little bit so you can see things better. So we'll start with the powder hopper, and like I said, this piece simply raises off any little dandy powder measure, and it has this rod in it. This is all solid copper, a little bit overkill, 3/16 of an inch thick. But anyway, it simply sits right down on the normal powder hopper and drop this plunger. Alright, the next thing is the primer feeder. The primer feeder is just a standard Dillon tube, readily available from Dillon, not that you will ever have to replace it. But one of the modifications I did is, actually not a modification, an addition. This is a piece of brass rod with a 45 caliber empty bullet soldered on top, and it's simply a follower for the primers. Now, I never really had a need for it because it just doesn't jam, but the nice part about it is it does let you know when you're out of primers. See, you can see right now there's about 3 inches here to go, which is probably about, 30 or 40 primers. Now, another modification that was made to it is we took out the Dillon, we took out the RCBS decapping die and put in a Dillon. And the reason for that is Dillon makes their decapping die, it has a snap option on the primer pin. So when the decapping pin pushes down and it starts back up, you'll see this snap, and it drops the spent primer off the end and doesn't try to pull it back up through the transfer bar. Alright, on this side you'll notice that this is an adjustable die, not like just a standard RCBS. So this station here seats the bullet just a ways. It starts it straight, so all you have to do is drop it in. When you pull the lever down, it starts it. And then this die actually crimps it and seats the bullet to an exacting depth. And there's a stop bolt down here that is adjustable. So this, if you don't want to go quite as deep, you can preload it to where when you come down, there's a slight bit of resistance, so the whole tool head stays straight. With all that said, let me move this thing back around and see if I can get it set up to where you can actually see me loading on it. And not that you'll do this, but I had 9 of these presses, and they were all up on a Lazy Susan here. I pulled a pin so I could rotate the thing around and get whatever caliber I wanted to load. Bin with the bullets. This is a catch bin, and this is a primer catch. Now these won't come with it, but it just shows you how you could set it up if you wanted to. Now the way I start all loading sessions is I'll load my primer feed up, load the powder reservoir up, and either pre-fill the tube, depending on which method you use to feed the cartridges, whether it's the original, you have to hand load them, or if you're going to use the Dillon case feeder. Of course, that's the simplest. You just take a handful of brass, dump it up in, and you're ready to go. So now you have cases, powder, and primers. So right now the Dillon case feeder has loaded up the drop tube. Alright, and whenever I stop loading, and any time I stop on this press at all, I always stop with cases in position, primer is engaged, powder's engaged, and the lever's down. Okay, and the reason for that, with this particular machine, with this drop tube for the bullet, it's very easy to forget that you already put one in, and if you try to push two projectiles into the same case, especially like a 357 or a 38, if you're doing a late powder load, especially with something like bullseye, you can push two into the case at one time, or you can break your bullet seating mechanism. So anyway, here we go. It's pretty simple. I grab about half a dozen bullets, that's because I'm getting so fumble fingered. Just start with one. Now I've gotten in a habit when I put the bullet in, which is actually all you really have to do, is the bullet is sitting a little cockeyed there, but I normally push it down with my finger. You don't have to, because that preceding die will straighten it up. It's just kind of a habit. So this is kind of like watching grass grow. You see, there goes the fumble fingers. In fact, that's why I'm getting out of the loading business. Age is starting to catch up with me. But nonetheless, this is just how easily things work. Now, in a little bit, I'll take and move the Dillon case feeder out of the way. And see, even when I grab a new handful of bullets, I stop with the press down. Now on the 45s, you can actually see the bullet here, but on a 38 or a 9mm, they drop down far enough that it's pretty rough to see them. So this is, I don't guess there's too much need of me loading up a whole wad of bullets. So here we go. We're going to stop, and I'm going to stop with the whole head down, all positions covered. Okay, we're back. So what I've done, this is the short feeder tube, and only because that was the height of the Dillon case feeder, the way it's set. So I cut all 9 of them off and used that. That will be included. So what I did is pull that one out, and this is the full length one, a single. And you simply, I take a small handful and drop in. And when you bump it, they simply fall down like so. if you get too many in, they do not like to feed. But anyway, that's how quickly it fills up. Then of course, as you're using it, you'll see it coming down. Stop the press, throw a handful of empty cases in, grab a handful of bullets, and go back to loading again. Now, one other thing that I'll show you, and I'm going to get in a little closer, see if we can do this without making you too dizzy. But here, looking at the top of this, okay, this is all the way down. That means we're out of primers. Okay, and what we're going to do is, setting back here, I got a ton of these Dillon tubes that I love, these plastic pickup tips, which they're warranted to forever. And you have a hairpin cotter key. So pull the feeder rod out, set the end of this in this black plastic recess. Okay, and you just loaded 100 primers. And so it's ready to go again. And like I said, you can either use this follower tube or not. It will feed either way. So put the cap back on the powder, like so. And we'll get in close and show you how it loads using this feeder. There was one little item I forgot to tell you about, or warn you about. On the green machines, you have a little dandy powder hopper with a rotor, and you have 2 pins back here. And I've always put a pair of white marks on the rotor, and then a white mark on the pin. And I don't know if you could see the pin or not. But make sure you have that engaged, and engaged in the right slot, because there are 2 slots on the rotor. So just put the white between the 2 whites and you're good to go. Alright, we're going to try to get in here without bumping the camera. So, like I said before, I always have the press head down. Primers are pretty much full, powder's full. Cases in the case feeder. So off we go. Now, of course, this is going to operate exactly like using the Dillon, with the exception you have to take your hand and feed the cases. Now, what I try to do is, like I said before, grab about 5 or 6 bullets in my hand, feed those until I'm out, then take a small handful and throw them in the case feeder. Now, you can't see it, of course, but it is filling up. So off you go again. And just loafing along like I'm doing, you can do anywhere between 12 and 14 cases a minute, loaded shells. And, you know, that's not hurrying. That's just poking along. That's about 800 rounds an hour, by the way. So, with that said, we'll stop here, and I'll do another little short video of the stuff that comes with it, including the standard case feeder and the Dillon primer pickup tube, and etc. So thanks for watching. Alright, here's about 20 minutes of my slow production. I guess that's probably about 250, 275 rounds. I'm not going to count it, of course, but a couple of things you really want to watch out for when you're using these machines if you pick up range brass like I do. Okay, there's excuse me, a 40 stuck in a 45. Now, that was tumbled. I didn't catch it. It went through the loading press, but you have to be real careful. Never ever force anything, because you don't need to force anything if everything is right. Now here's another one. You can't really see it, but that's a 9mm, and you can see where the old primer, I get it in the camera focus here, where the old primer, I almost pushed the decapping pin through it, and the only thing stopped it was, of course, the flash hole in the 45. So there you go. Just be careful. Don't force anything. You know, progressive presses, I don't care whose you buy. You can buy the Dillon 1050. You can buy any one you want. None of them are without failure once in a while later. All right, we'll try to make this the last video. I know this is getting too long, but we started at the top with the black bowl where you drop your cases in, coming on down to the main press. And I'm going to zoom in here a bit, and we'll just take some close-ups of this. Okay, primer feed tube, Dillon decapper die. The side of the press. The press has all been lubricated in all the pivot points. This spot here I always put a little bit of synthetic grease on. Coming on around to the back side. This hole, and the two down here. Every 500 rounds or so, put 1 drop of oil or so in each one. Now this side, you'll see probably what I would consider the weakest part of a green machine, and that's this link right here. Anchors here, and this is what operates your bullet seater. So if you feel something go south, if you're applying way more pressure than you normally did, don't go ahead and pull on that handle, because you can just exert hundreds and hundreds of pounds of pressure. You will break something. And on around back to the front. All right, with the machine, you will receive a Dillon. It's actually a primer warning device that goes on a Dillon machine, and it's been modified just slightly to fit the powder measure. And I showed you before how it works. This rod is totally adjustable. This will be off the machine, wrapped separately. There will be a new battery coming with it. Here is the tube that you saw, and this is if you should happen to want to go to a Dillon case feeder. You simply pull the plastic tube that's in the machine at present and replace it with this. Simply push it all the way down. Here's a Dillon primer pickup tube, large of course. Hairpin cutter key on one end, simply pick them up, invert it, set it on top the primer tube on the machine, pull the pin, 100 primers goes in. This is a brass follower rod. Here's a case catching box. This is a I don't think it was ever on the machine, but it's a new RCBS cover for the unit. And here is the original 5-tube carousel that goes on the green machine for the empty cases. So with that, we'll wrap up this video and take some pictures of it. Thanks.